This is the Research Collective submission to the Covidathon. A little context before we dive in, if you don't mind, though. A couple years ago, I was approached by some biohackers who were interested in developing a gene therapy to treat HIV. What concerned me more than the possibility of unintended side effects was the almost certain reality that even if it did work out, nobody would believe me, since I'm not a doctor, and that it would never make it to market because I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars to do clinical studies. So, to alleviate these concerns, I had a documentary crew follow me, so that way at least some people would believe me if it worked out. As to whether or not it worked out, we'll get to that at the end, but first, let's back up a little bit and dive into the bigger picture.
Here at the Research Collective, we're asking you, how can biomedical research be trusted when researchers don't even trust each other? We have a lot of appeals to authority, these beautiful institutions, words like stage 3 clinical trial and peer-reviewed. But at the end of the day, a lot of what we take to be scientific fact about health is actually just business with a veneer of authenticity. We believe that we need a revolution in knowledge production. We believe that this can be mediated by distributed ledgers, and we believe that it can be shaped by verifiable claims to drive out all of the shills. Here's what this process looks at a little bit higher level. Curation of hypotheses means that we try to find the most contested questions, the things that researchers don't want to admit exist in their field. We take those and then we put them onto a knowledge market, which allows people to bet for or against the hypothesis. Eventually, a decision point is reached if data can be produced that confirms or denies it. More importantly, though, there has to be trust that the data isn't just fabricated in order to make profit. And that's where the Research Collective comes into play. But eventually, this comes into crowdfunding, and then if the hypothesis is valid, then it might even result in a clinical trial. So in order to work towards this goal, previously stated, here is our stack, and I'll just briefly go over it so that way you have some idea of what's going on in the background of the actual demo. We're using 3box for identity management. This allows people to attach all sorts of profile data, their verifiable claims to their Ethereum address using IPFS. We're using React for the actual meat of it. We're using a network of expert Aragon DAOs to start issuing credentials and curating content. We're using Telegram so that people can interact with these DAOs in a relatively streamlined manner. We're using the graph to access information from the Ethereum blockchain. And we're using MetaMask to actually sign off on claims and authenticate for 3box. Here's the actual site. It's got a pretty basic splash page. This is the core meat of the project, which again was issuing verifiable credentials using a network of DAOs. These are all different sort of votes that came through the COVID Research DAO and were passed. They represent 3 different types of postings that we're looking for. This is a vendor. It's tied to their 3box profile, and it allows people to communicate with them peer-to-peer without us doing anything. This is an article that goes against conventional wisdom, yet might be relevant for various people. And then this is a listing that goes to like another website that has other resources about COVID. We'll go through the process real quick of what it looks like posting. Eventually, these will determine which of the DAOs receive it. Right now, it's all going to the RC Telegram DAO. So that goes through, and we get we put these 2 messages. One of them is for humans. One of them contains the unsigned verifiable credential. And This is stashed onto IPFS. We're thinking of making it so that you forward this to the Telegram bot if you think that it's not spam, if you're sort of vouching for it. And then the Telegram bot issues a vote that goes to the members. The Telegram bot was forked from Collab 19, and we modified it some for our special purposes. Let's go ahead and assume that this vote passed. What we're going to do is we're going to take this verifiable credential and we'll show what happens with the back end. So this unsigned credential gets sent, and we go ahead and send it to the server. And we wait for just a minute, and okay, I think it's sent. And then once it's signed, it gets sent to the person's email. And then this can be used to prove to anyone that you did receive sort of a thumbs up from that DAO. So essentially, you probably have all the credentials stashed here on the profile. This profile, you can alternate between your generic ThruBox profile and your app profile. All of this is stored on IPFS and it can be used to, across apps. We've got a docs page, which all of this was written during the hackathon and contains a lot of information if you want to drill down deeper. This is the notebook, which uses the IPFS. You can create both a public or a private note, and then it gets stored on IPFS as attached to your Ethereum address. It's encrypted if you want to keep it private. We also have a chat section, which we will eventually integrate with the Telegram chat, but right now it's used for anonymous peer-to-peer communication. All right, I think that pretty much covers it. In terms of next directions, we're going to streamline the process for the credential issuing, probably allow people to store them on their profile, including the signed ones, and then also be able to prove them to people. We're going to keep working on the interoperability between DAOs and how do expert DAOs sort of refer to the same things. And we plan on adding some functionality so that people can start listing experiments. They get approved by a DAO, and then there's like a thread where people can comment on the experiment. So that way it's sort of a real-time, immutable record of the procedures. Anywho, that's it for now. Thank you for listening. If you're curious, please do check out the site. It's at researchcollective.io. And on that site, you'll be able to find information on joining. Best route right now is probably just joining us on Telegram.